are reflecting Swahili words and African words quite elaborately. And so when you look at this, look at the bigger picture of what kind of impact this would have in terms of us Africans try to make our films and selling them to the world, and somebody says, but that belongs to Hollywood. I mean, there is a danger in that, and I think we should just watch ourselves that.
Because I remember there was a Maasai. There was a Maasai who was fighting for the Maasai culture, which was largely being borrowed by the fashion industry in New York, the Louis Vuitton, the other big companies. And he said, you cannot use our brand to market it, to market to you as your own or own it, but you can borrow and let our Maasai in Kenya earn something from benefit from it. So I think that is a case still in New York. It's on the process.
Well, let's wait and see what happens. But let's come back to also stuff that was happening locally, maybe just to highlight some of the things that have been hot. But in case you're wondering what that HAKUNA MATATA thing is all about, Disney World have now have said that they actually own it, but there's an online petition that can be signed for you to say you're against it. So do go online and see whether you can find it and see whether that can be done. But one of the things that came up was, first of all, Jose Mourinho being sacked, although that didn't come as a huge surprise to many. After the painful defeat, Mike, and I'm speaking as a fan. Yeah, I was watching the game from somewhere in Athi River last weekend, and the pain that I felt, I haven't had it in a long time. It was about time. So it's a buy. It's a buy for now. The special one is now the sacked one. So you just keep it at that. We will be back. Yeah, that's a pun right there. But anyway, and he was sacked and given all, was it 3 billion? Well, the thing about him is that I think he's trying to look for a soft landing after the sack. I mean, he's been back and forth in EPL, and we know what happened with him and Chelsea some few years ago, and now sacked again, and you're thinking, what options does this guy have? And I just like the kind of conversation that he's been having since then. A very wise man who says, Manchester United is a wonderful club. I had a good time there, as opposed to the usual run he has had before, whereby he would say all sorts of things that are against the club and many times walk away with the players. Absolutely, and there you go. But he was fired. But coming back to somebody else who we thought was fired, maybe was not, given a picture that was doing rounds, was Joey. And I saw that picture, and first of all, my initial reaction was, wow, is this an old picture or a recent one? And boyo, one would have thought that Joey had been fired, but looking at this picture, maybe he still has a job. I think he still has a job. Why not? The heart wants what it wants, and the heart wants Joey. And gets what it wants. So Joey stays. That is all I can say. Were you surprised by? I was surprised. Because for me, it's the people who are reading the picture. I mean, if you look at that picture, it's literally eye contact. The picture speaks volumes. You don't have even to add a caption. I think it happened during the week when she had gone for a mention of the case, and then later they embraced and guys were surprised. You should not be surprised. She's the fiancé. She's not. Has she denied being the fiancé anymore? Has she said it's over? No. I remember sometimes she said that was then. Something like that. So. And not only did he embrace Jackie, he had embraced the mother to Jackie. So there seems to be a little bit more than we may have thought. But then the question, what happens to Mr. Dennis Itumbi? There is more. Itumbi. I mean, Dennis has a job to keep, so. Evidently, it looks like he lost it already. No, if this is anything to go by. And yes, we are keeping up with them. But again, Mike, sometimes I just like looking at things from a flip side. These guys have a case to answer to. They've been charged. We have a long way towards Feb and March, the months and the coming months ahead when they have this thing to deal with. And I think in a very technical way, sometimes you have to draw back and say, let's work together in this one, because sometimes it's very hard, if you have a case like that, to work alone. You may need each other in terms of witnessing and talking, and I'm not saying this in terms of law and courts, but I think these guys would, of course, play all the drama until this thing is over, and I think that was a smart move. If you ask me, I don't know whether
the guy is back, but I know that they would work together until this.
Well, what Boya has said is true. The heart wants what it wants. And you know, there's a song that was written, the heart is not so smart. So your brain might be saying one thing, but the heart has basically said another thing. So let's wait and see. And talking about matters of the heart, Joey and Jackie have not maybe been together as long as one Mr. Jackson Kibor, who is 85 years. But still, I think in a matter of 8 months, kicked out his second wife. I mean, talking about matters of the heart. One is left wondering, at 85, why would you be divorcing? And secondly, somebody you've been married to for over 40 years.
Kibor, at that age, with all respect to an old man, like I should have, sounds like a teenager looking for love, just having flings with girls in school. I mean, at that age, you don't expect a man to be dating and getting out of love, in love, be with this woman for so many years, and now you don't have her, and now you have a younger one, and suddenly you don't have her. I mean, it sounds like a teenager to me, looking for love or looking for whatever love is all about. Sorry for that, but yes, that one I don't get for a man that age.
Boyo, try maybe give us the perspective from a female perspective. An 85-year-old who's kicking out a lady he's been married to for 24 years. But the question is, at 85,
I think Wilson Kibor is the king of divorces. I remember his wife passed away, his first wife passed away, I think about 8 years ago. Then he divorced his second wife, who's 52. Then he now just divorced his third wife, who I think is 43 there. And he's currently living with the fourth wife, who is in late 30s. So I think he does not know what he wants. At 80s, it does not make sense to divorce, because this is when you need your partner the most. How many times do we...
I guess for him, he has multiple partners, so it depends on which one he wants to settle.
I guess so, but how many times... How many times do you see an old age couple, either the wife dies and you see months later the husband dies, and vice versa. Right. So I don't know. I don't understand how he thinks, but he needs to make up his mind, because at the same time, right now the women know this is his trend, and the man is rich, he has land, and that is not a secret. So if I know this is the trend of Kibor, how many women already know that and are willing to be part of that family, knowing I can go there for a year or two and we divorce, since he's the king of divorce.
Diamond is allowed to have enough girlfriends as he should for showbiz. Now with our very own, for a man that age, I would say no. Probably you need some therapy. You need a different kind of therapy for that matter, and not just a wife.
Or maybe he's just a drama king. So maybe he just enjoys the drama. He just enjoys the fact that he'll be on the headlines yet again. So.
Yeah, because the recently divorced wife was worried and said, why divorce me? Explain to me. The guy was quiet. So when these women come and go, then the problem must be with the guy.
The person.
Because how many women can come and go?
All right. And maybe before we now check at what we have on the pulse this time, and you'll tell us whether it's the last pulse this year, there was also a scare. And there was a disease known as Jakadala, which apparently was quite lethal. Now, was this just a scare, or is it something... Is it one of those things that are just there to scare people?
Mike, when you talk about scare, I think the mention of a strange disease that affects a man, and the kind of attention it got in terms of Google searches and in terms of what is this all about. I mean, that talks a lot on what men in this country could be doing. I mean, why would you be searching for something and it doesn't affect you? I mean, it is not true, I hear, that the disease really is in existence in this place. But the drama around it is the fact that we are already so scared that this disease, that some of those things men use to protect themselves and hide from, do not work anymore. That's a scare. It's like God telling you this is your last day, it's about time to move.
It's just basically people must behave. You know, behavior must be enhanced somehow. Boyo?
People must behave.
And especially, and you know the funny thing is that this year is coming over Christmas, so there's meant to be a lot of fun and activity in between, to say the least.
Yeah.
People were so scared. The Google searches plus the social media guys talking about the disease. That means a lot of people are doing things they're not supposed to do, because if you're safe, why get worried? Why be afraid about a disease which is sexually transmitted? The same disease, the same picture was used, I think, a while back, early this year, to say there's a new STD which is worse than HIV that has come to, and guys should be
careful,
aware of it. So I think it's time for guys to straighten up. If this is just a scare, it's not real, and guys were very crazy about it. So, just straighten up.
They say that the guilty are afraid when nobody's chasing. So, if you're not guilty, then really there's nothing to panic about.
Yeah.
But if you're guilty, it
sounded like everybody was guilty.
Most people.
Stevens, run us through the pulse quickly. And is this the last pulse?
No. We have one more copy on 28th of this month. But however, the copy will be having different content. Right. Today, we just reflect on, reviews on what happened this year. And I think largely it's for guys to grab the paper and, from page 1 all the way to page 20. It's a lot of reviews on what happened this year in terms of showbiz, entertainment. We're talking about, for example, the page I'm opening here is The Bad and the Ugly of 2018. That talks about all those things. If you remember, some times ago, Boyo, when Burna Boy came here and he showed Kenyans the middle finger.
Yes.
And we were very annoyed, and, it was Nigeria again versus Kenya. We remember Red Sun and the case of him and the producer after sort of what happened during the launch, the same day or the same weekend when Yemi was stranded in an hotel.
Yes.
Tiwa Savage, rather, sorry, was stranded in an hotel in funny circumstances. And so there are so many scandals that were happening throughout this year that the Pulse magazine has packaged for you just to see. Reflect back what was happening. We laugh about it. We cry about it and say that was 2018 going by. And if you just go all the way to page 4 of the same, you just find a lot of reflection towards what happened in the world of fashion and runways and, modeling and stuff. Our girls who did us proud internationally. So one of them is representing us today abroad, Miss Universe. And so we are just capturing all that and at the same time giving you a spread of some of the biggest artists we have had this year and some of those great guys who did us proud, not just in Kenya, but across
all over
Africa.
Let it suffice to say that the Pulse is packed with a lot of stuff. I think, Boyo, you already alluded to what we have on the Nairobian, and we need to wind up. So maybe anything else that we need to highlight? Of course, you've talked about the scandals and matters that shook Kenya, and we all know what those are. On
page 14 and 20 and 15, we have the Holy Feast. This will be one of a hell of a meaty Christmas, so get to know what kind of meaty Christmas. We also highlighting on our capital features, why widows hate Christmas. This is a special group of widows and widowers. When there's the family break, people tend to disconnect. So get to read and know the challenges they face
that some people
over
go through.
Christmas.
And at Christmas, as much as it's a time for people to be happy and be together, there are some people who actually hate it or do not look forward to it because it has reminders. So do get yourself a copy of the Nairobian. Boyo, thank you very much for joining us. Stevens, thank you for joining us this morning on Hot Topics. It is now 9 minutes to 9 o'clock. We have to say goodbye. I take this opportunity also to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Are you going to be around over Christmas?
I thought you were calling us for a goat again.
No, that we'll discuss after. I don't want to get crushed, so I'll let you know, what's going to be happening. Are you going to be around Nairobi over Christmas, or are you traveling?
I should be going to my village, Zeni, as stated on the past. But yes, just for a day and back to work.
Okay.
And yes, Mike, I can be your visitor.
You can be my visitor. All right. The message I'm giving people who are going up country, because I'll be around, is once you go up country, kaeni huko. Si hatutaki jama hapa. It's time for us to wind up. Do have yourselves a wonderful day. And those of you who made